Donald Trump has imposed a travel ban on many countries. In this video, we're going to discuss which ones are affected and how they are going to be affected. So let's jump in. Hi, my name is Oscar, and as you know, I'm a scientist, not a lawyer, and in this channel we talk about green cards like EB-1A or EB-2NAW, in which you can be the owner of your immigration future because you can do these green card categories without having a company sponsoring you and also without a lawyer, saving thousands of dollars. We teach you how to do that here in these channels, in our websites, and of course in our specialized courses. But today we have a special video because, and I would say an emergency video, because Donald Trump's administration did something that it was already discussed in the media that it could happen. Another travel ban similar or resembling a little bit of the travel ban that he imposed in his first term. That one was popularly known as the Muslim ban because it mostly affected predominantly Muslim countries. At that point, it was a little bit chaotic because he imposed the ban effective immediately. So people were on transit in the plane, flying to the United States with their visas, and they didn't know about it until they landed and they were at the airport and they were denied entry to the US. That ban was contested heavily in courts. It was suspended and eventually it was revoked by the next president, President Biden. But now Trump is again in the White House and he has more plans for more restrictions to immigrants like we discussed here in our latest video where I actually went about different measures that Donald Trump is taking against legal immigrants. So in January, he issued this executive order 14161, protecting the US from foreign terrorists and other national security and public safety threats. We actually discussed it here in one or two videos because it calls for what they call extreme vetting of foreign nationals, and it requested different agencies to recommend and implement updates to ensure national security. And in my interpretation, that meant that more restrictions were coming, more delays in embassies because of this extreme vetting that we are now seeing how they are effectively researching social media, the social media profiles, and looking more in depth to each applicant for non-immigrant visas, for immigrant visas, and that will mean, of course, delays at those posts. But also, I said at that point that this could lead to one of these travel bans. And on June 4th, 2025, he signed this new proclamation restricting the entry of foreign nationals. And now we're going to discuss all the details because we had a little bit of time to review what that document says. And you can find it in the White House website. You can go there and read it. I will leave a link, the link that you see on the screen. It will be on the description of the video. So you yourself can go and check what this is all about. I'm going to give you my summary, my interpretation, so you can be informed. So before getting into the details, the list of countries, the time period, and all of that, let's clarify from the beginning that this is a travel ban. Okay, travel is the most important word here. Is affecting mostly people that are coming into the United States. So it doesn't immediately impact those of you who are already in the US or adjudications from USCIS. Imagine an I-140 was submitted, USCIS is reviewing it, it shouldn't affect that. Or USCIS adjustment of status. If you're in the US and you are changing your status, it shouldn't be affected by this. This affects people flying into the country from one of the countries we're going to discuss. And so when is it going to be effective? It's going to be effective at midnight on June 9th, which is Monday, June 9th, 2025. And within 90 days from June 4th and every 180 days thereafter, the Secretary of State will submit a report to the President recommending whether he should continue, he should terminate, he should modify or supplement the restrictions. Okay, so it's important that this is going to be something that it is there indefinitely until they cancel it, pause it, add or subtract countries, whatever it is, they have this ongoing review process for it. So 12 countries will be in the full restriction tier. Okay, there's like 3 tiers here. Full restriction, 12 countries, we're going to see the list in a second. But what I want you to know is that full restriction means that the entry of nationals from those countries as both immigrant and non-immigrants is suspended. Okay, so people, no matter if they are coming as a student visa holder or any other type of non-immigrant visa, or they were flying in for the first time with a green card approval, they would be affected. Later we will see that it doesn't affect to people that are already lawful permanent residents, that they had already entered the country once. Okay, that's very important. Partial restriction countries, 7 countries, and partial restriction means that the nationals from these countries will be restricted to enter as immigrant and as non-immigrants on B visas, F, M, and J visas. So mostly tourist, business, and student exchange programs. So those will be suspended. The validity of other non-immigrant visas that are not suspended will be reduced, and they say to the maximum extent permitted. Okay, so when they issue those visas not included here, for example, imagine an H visa. If you are a person from that country, they will give you the minimum amount of time that visa allows. And then we have a third list of only one country, and I can tell you it's Egypt. I don't have to have a cliffhanger here, because it is mentioned at one point of this document that they are monitoring how this country is screening and vetting immigrants. So I wouldn't be surprised if Egypt is later added to one of these 2 tiers of countries. Now, before we get into the list of countries, let's get into the exceptions, because it's very important to know who is not affected. Lawful permanent residents are not affected. Okay, those who already have a green card, even if they come from one of these countries, if they already entered the United States and they became permanent resident, because you are not permanent resident when you get the approval at the embassy. You only get an immigrant visa there, and you have to enter the country to now be lawful permanent resident. So those who are lawful permanent residents, green card holders, they are not affected. And they are supposed to be able to travel. Okay, I don't know if they are going to give them a hard time or not. And if I were one of them, I would probably wait to travel until I see the situation and I know it's clear, but it shouldn't affect them. And then dual citizens, if they are traveling on a passport of a country not restricted. So one of the countries that is restricted, for example, is the Republic of the Congo. If you are a citizen of the Republic of the Congo and a citizen from France, for example, who are not affected, if you do the process using the French passport, you are supposedly not going to be affected. Now, again, we're going to have to wait and see how that really is applied. Okay, I want to be cautious because I know this government and I know that they can still give them a hard time. But this is what the proclamation says. Now, people with visas like A, C, G, or NATO visas, and I think, I'm not super familiar with these visas, but I think mostly they are diplomatic visas, they are not affected. Athletes or supporting roles for World Cup, Olympic Games, or other major sport competitions will not be affected. From the green card visas, the immediate family immigrant visas are excluded, okay? And those are for example, spouses. So those will still supposedly be able to go to the embassy, get the immigrant visa, and access the United States for the first time. But it does say that they need clear and convincing evidence of identity and family relationship. Adoption visas, Afghan special immigrant visas, special immigrant visas for US government employees, immigrant visas for ethnic and religious minorities facing persecution in Iran, other exceptions made by the Attorney General and other exceptions made by the Secretary of State on the basis of national interest. So all of these are exceptions to the list of countries we're going to see. Then we have other clarifications. It says that no immigrant or non-immigrant visas that are already issued before the effective date of June 9th, no visas will be revoked based on this proclamation. So it is not retroactive. Okay, those who were already approved, they are supposed to have no problem. And then it doesn't apply to those that have been granted asylum, to refugees, or other protected under the Convention Against Torture or other cruel, inhuman treatment or punishment. Now let's go with the list of countries. First, those with full restrictions. And those are the 12 countries that you can see on the screen: Afghanistan, Burma, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of the Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, Yemen, and Iran, which was missing in an earlier version of this video. All entries from these countries as immigrant and non-immigrant visa holders are suspended, with the exceptions previously mentioned. Partial restriction countries, 7 countries: Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. And again, this means that the nationals from these countries cannot enter as immigrant visa holder, non-immigrant visas on B visas, B1, B2, B1, and B2, and then students F, M, and J. So they suspended those entries. And then it also says that for any other non-immigrant visa not included here in the suspension, the consular officers will reduce the validity of those visas that are still allowed to the maximum extent permitted by law. So they are going to give you the visa for as little amount of time they can possibly do. And then we have the last country of Egypt, who is not currently restricted by the order, but it does say that they will review the country's screening and vetting capabilities. So in my mind, this is a warning, and people from Egypt should be paying attention, because at any point their status can change from not restricted to being restricted. Okay, and here you have the screenshot of the place in that proclamation where they specifically single out Egypt. Conclusions. Another travel ban has been imposed. This is not good news at all. The order severely reduces the entry of nationals from certain countries. And by the way, if you go to the order, it does argue for each particular country what is the reason or reasons why they are implementing this ban. They use reasons of national security. For example, for Iran, they say that it is a country that sponsors terrorism, according to the State Department, and they don't want to let people come in from that country. In other cases, they give reasons of excessive overstay of visas from nationals of those countries. And in other countries, they just give reasons of poor screening capabilities from those countries. Sometimes they use one reason, sometimes they use a few of those reasons together. And what my impression is that this order is very detailed, and to me that is pointing at the fact that they think this is going to be challenged in court and they want to protect the order as much as possible. It even says at some point that if something is deemed, it doesn't say not legal, but it is essentially, it says if something in this order is invalidated, the rest of the order is still valid. So I think they put a lot of thought to make this bulletproof against potential court challenges, but we will have to see what happens next, if it is challenged in court, if the totality of it is suspended or put on pause or cancelled altogether. We don't know that yet, but you should know that this is happening, and from June 9th, these countries could be severely restricted. So those who were planning to enter the US from these countries, they could accelerate the entry before June 9th. That is something that you need to discuss with a lawyer. It is time to get a lawyer to discuss your specific case and to really understand what you have to do and how you will be affected. But again, it shouldn't affect existing green card holders, but it could affect prospective green card holders who are still abroad. It does affect a lot of non-immigrant statuses. So please, 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 if you are from one of these countries, you should seek legal advice from someone that is specialized on immigration, seek a US lawyer, and find out what you should do about your own situation and your family's situation. I wish I could give you better news in today's video. I hope in the next videos we can talk about something a little bit more positive. I know the visa bulletin is about to be published one of these days. We have that video coming up. We have the video about the consular update. We have a special video where we have a special announcement. And as usual, I thank you for being here, for subscribing to this channel, for sharing this channel, for liking the video. It helps us with the algorithm, and we will continue updating you on all these topics. If you are interested in EB2NAW, in EB1A, go to our website, oscarsgreencard.com, and we have a variety of resources, including our specialized courses to help you with the green card journey. Until the next time.